What's up, guys? Welcome to the Coach Fits podcast, where we simplify exercise and nutrition so you can get leaner, stronger, and become more energized. I'm your host, Brian Fitzsimmons. Let's get it started. What is up, guys? Oh, it has been so long. It feels like forever. It's only been like a week or two, but unfortunately, I was having some technical difficulties. Long story short, I needed to upgrade iMovie, which is what I cut all these podcasts on. It's what I edit everything up, make it look all purty and sound somewhat decent. And yeah, it's basically what makes these podcasts run. And I couldn't download it because I didn't have the most recent operating system on my MacBook Air. And without getting too techie or anything, because I barely understand it, wouldn't let me do it. I tried what any normal, stubborn, red-blooded American male would do, and I said, screw it, I'll do it myself. I'm going to YouTube it. I'm going to figure this stuff out. And yeah, long story short, that didn't go well. I downloaded some sketchy patch, probably did it wrong. And yeah, by the time I was all done, still couldn't download iMovie, and my computer was lagging. It was extremely slow compared to prior. So now, not only were the podcasts messed up, I was writing emails like and it took like 3 times as long, easily. So what did I do? I put my white flag up. I surrendered, and I said, all right, I'm going to go to Apple. I'll pay whatever it costs, whatever. So I bring it into Apple. Guy looks at me and he says, all right, so what's going on? I tell him the deal, and he's like, okay, best case scenario, we can get it back to you in like 3-4 hours, but it might take like a day. And I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. I'm like, what's the cost? He's like, free. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. So apparently with the Apple products, when it's like software issue or like an update or something, it's their end, so they take care of it. I'm like, well, that ended up working out nicely. So 3 hours later, I pick it up, and it's like I have a brand new freaking computer. So what did I learn? Basically, to take my own damn advice. So anybody that's like on the email list or in the Facebook group has heard me talk about outsourcing your fitness and your nutrition to help you save time, money, and effort. And that's exactly what happened in this case. I outsourced and got help and trusted somebody that knew way more than I did when it came to tech. This cool dude, I think his name was Dan. I hope I don't get that wrong, but Dan was basically like my technology version of Coach Fits. He took care of everything, made it simple on my end. And yeah, I probably saved a whole lot of time and energy and money by doing that. So that's why I basically am wrapping it into this, where it's like you have a couple of options when it comes to your fitness or your nutrition. You could do what I did. You could try and do it yourself. You take up a lot of time, a lot of energy, and do it the hard way and make a lot of mistakes along the way, and usually leads to getting nowhere or ending up worse, which in my case, thank God it didn't end up a lot worse, just a little slow computer. But for some people, that could translate to getting badly injured. It could translate into their metabolism getting hit really bad. It could be, what are some of the other stuff that I've seen? People just not getting results in general, just staying exactly the same, like working so hard and just not getting anywhere. Or they do see results, but they picked a program or a method or something that was not built to last, and they get a taste of how good it feels like to be at a good body weight that makes them feel better. Or they're really strong and they're really happy about it, but it doesn't last. And now they're back to square one. They got that taste, and now they're like all upset and depressed that like, I must be a failure. And it's like, no, it's not your fault. It's the fact that A, you didn't pick the right program, method, or whatever. B, it just wasn't meant for that. So that being said, it always helps getting somebody who knows what they're doing, a coach or a personal trainer, an online coach, a program from somebody who's trusted. Like, to put it in perspective, like obviously personal trainer would be great, But the best option when it comes to like quality personal trainers is finding somebody that is not the new guy. So more times than not, when you go to a commercial gym and you don't ask any questions, you just say, yeah, I'll work with a personal trainer, and you're easy about it. They'll stick you with the person that either has nobody on their book because they're brand spanking new, or they'll give you somebody that like has been there a while that like doesn't really care about like building their clientele, and they're like, yeah, I'll take them, whatever. Okay. And usually the best person on staff has almost no availability, if any, and they charge a little bit more, or if they have the ability to. So that's usually what happens. Okay. What you can do is go to a gym where, like a boutique style gym, like where I used to work at, that's small group, and you get 3 or 4 trainers looking at you instead of just the one. So even like you're not limited to that one trainer's expertise. You now have a collective group of people working with you and sharing their knowledge, sharing their expertise. And the people that aren't as knowledgeable learn from those people a lot better than, say, like a typical commercial gym, where if the lead trainer does not take education seriously or does not implement it correctly, you got everybody doing their own thing, and it's like the wild, wild west. You could end up with somebody really good or really bad. So more times than not, when it comes to finding a good person, you could find a pretty good person when it comes to small group training settings. Or you could go by word of mouth. Like if you have somebody that you know has had amazing results, has been able to keep their results, and they're working with somebody, ask them. And fair warning, if they're really good, they're not going to be really cheap. But that's like, fitness is one of those things you get for what you pay for. Like same with fitness equipment, which is what I'm going to talk about next. But wow, I just blew a beautiful transition. But what you pay for is what you get. If you want somebody who's cheap, be ready for somebody that doesn't really invest in themselves or hasn't been in the game that long, that doesn't know a whole lot about it, which is why they're charging so low, because they don't even know a good price point for like what a trainer should be asking for to make it last. Because if a trainer is charging $30-$40 a session, don't expect them to be around forever, because they're going to burn out. They're not going to be able to pay their bills, and they're going to be gone. So it's, again, long-term mindset. But yeah, what you pay for is what you get, which leads me into the next topic, which is at-home workouts, or sorry, not at-home workouts, at-home exercise equipment. I got this idea straight from one of my all-star clients, you guys. She did a podcast episode with me. You guys have probably heard me talk about her multiple times. Jillian, she is really good on TikTok. And I got to be honest, I take a lot of inspiration for certain posts and stuff from stuff that she posts. And the most recent one was her at-home setup, which I'm happy to say I had a little bit to contribute when it came to that, when she was initially buying equipment. Now, she found out the hard way with her adjustable bench, as did I, because I did the exact same thing. Adjustable benches on their own are very expensive for a good one, because they can charge that, because a lot of companies suck at making them. My personal brand that I used that I was not happy with at all was the CAP brand, CAP. You see it a lot on Amazon, and like it's usually one of those first ones to pop up on Google. They clearly put all their money towards advertising rather than product. And then I think Jillian had I forget, like fitness gear or something like that. Wasn't happy with it either. And just by looking at the design of it, it looks very, very similar to the one that I picked. But yeah, so lesson learned. So when you want to get good equipment, you want durable stuff, make sure it's a one-time purchase, but one-time purchases are usually not cheap purchases. Now, when we're talking like what are some good companies to go for, I usually stick to the same ones. Rogue Fitness, ROGUE Fitness, is usually my go-to, because they have a little bit of everything. They're usually on the lower end as far as quality goes, like as far as price goes for quality. Everything you get from them feels like it can withstand a nuclear bomb. It's just durable as hell, and they're heavy, and it's perfect for the gym. Another one that I have looked into is Sorinex. They outfit a lot of, they're more on the side of like strength and conditioning facilities for like universities and like professional organizations. So their stuff is legit. Another one, I'll limit it to three because there's a million, but EliteFTS, when it comes to like bands or like specific bars, squat racks in particular, they are as legit as they come. Like if you buy one of those, you can pass that down to your great grandkids, and it's probably still going to be just as good. So yeah, um, a little promotion on there on that end. But that being said, you don't need to break the bank when it comes to your own at-home setup, because let's be real, when you go to the gym, you invest a lot of time going back and forth. Like sometimes, depending on where you live, that could be like 5 minutes, or it could be something closer to 30 or 40 minutes each way. So for some people, it makes sense to say, screw the commercial gym, I'll just get my own at-home setup. So here's a couple of like necessities that you can do a ton of things with, because these are pretty much like the bare bones of what I would like from clients so that we can get really effective workouts in. And you'd be surprised how little equipment it is. So first things first is bands. These are pretty standard, like across the board. It's hard to find a pair of bands that really don't last that long, because they're all made to last long enough. Now bands, because they're elastic, you get a little bit of give from them. They don't last forever, but they do the job. Now you can find them pretty much anywhere, but if I was going to recommend anything, I would say again EliteFTS, or another good brand is JRX. It's John Russin's brand, and his are really good. But with bands, you can bring them on the go. Like if you are on vacation, if you have a work trip, if for some reason you have to travel for like your son or daughter's sports game, like, and you're stuck in a hotel with no gym, bands are the way to go. And you can just toss them in your bag. So they're great. And when you're at home, there's a million and one things you can do with them. So bands are number one. And to get a good price on those, somewhere around, like if you're getting like a full set, like, because that's what you want. You don't want to be stuck with like one or two heavy and loose. You want like colors of the rainbow, because they're usually color coded. So for a good set, like 5 to 7 different colors, it's probably going to run you at least $50 ish. But so yeah, that's probably one of the cheaper purchases, especially compared to what I'm about to bring up, which is dumbbells. Dumbbells, plates, anything that goes by weight, like price per pound, gets pricey. Like at the height of COVID, I saw some stuff that was like $2-3 per pound. So I mean, that's like 145-pound plate was going for like $150. I mean, that was price gouging, or not price gouging, but whatever. Like they were taking advantage. So that's not to be expected at this point in time, as long as we don't have another situation like that. But the best thing you could do, especially when it comes to dumbbells, is to get an adjustable pair. Now, when I say that, I mean a good adjustable pair. Again, going for durability. So those Bowflex ones, or like any of those types that use a crank, like you twist to hit that number, usually don't last as long as people think they do, because when you drop them down, when you're doing your thing and you get really tired and you just want to drop them on the ground, if they land on that crank, they're done. Like if they crack the plastic, they're done. So with that being said, I tell people to get power blocks, because I really haven't found anything better than that. Like they've been around forever. Like the originals, like the prototype one, I guess you could call it, have been around since like, I think like the 80s, and they're still going strong. There's still people with these that are still using them to their fullest capacity, but they've got other types like the Pro Series, Commercial Pro, Sport, like the Sport ones you see at Dick's Sporting Goods and stuff. The Sport version go from like 5 pounds to 50, or no, sorry, 10 pounds to 50 pounds. And then you buy expansion packs that get you to like 70 or 90. But that initial one, like the smallest one you can get, like 50 pounds is more than enough for some people if you're using 2 dumbbells. That usually, like right now, they run for $409 because I just had to look that up because I sold my pair to upgrade. Yeah, so $409 for that. To put that in perspective, that is a deal and a half, because if you look up again, price per pound with dumbbells, like individual dumbbells, that's say for $400, you're probably only getting up to like 15, 20 pounds for 2 dumbbells, I guess, maybe, because I'm not a math major and I'm doing this off the top of my head. And on top of that, you're saving a ton of space. These power blocks are maybe the size of like if you had 2 or 3 textbooks from college stacked on top of each other. That's about as much space as they take up. If you've got 10, 20, 30 different dumbbells, that's a whole lot of space that not a lot of people have in their house, because we all know we're so good at packing so many things into a tight little space in a rental apartment, even in your house. Like I know my parents aren't the only ones that have a tough time fitting everything in the house. So space is a very valuable thing. Save it, get yourself some power blocks. And that's pretty much it. Bands and power blocks, you can get a lot done with. Those are like the bare essentials that I recommend everybody gets. Now, let's say you want to upgrade and keep going. What would be next on the list? Pretty simple. That would be a barbell. And then to go a step further would be a landmine attachment. Now with the barbell, you could do a million things: curls, overhead press, deadlift, squat. And you really don't need a squat stand or anything, especially if you're going in the higher rep ranges and you don't have as much weight with the plates and stuff. You could even go like a plain barbell, no weights on it, and get a lot done. And then when you do the landmine attachment, for those of you that don't know what a landmine attachment is, go ahead and Google it. It's pretty much like a 2-part thing. It acts almost like your wrist. So imagine like your wrist is this metal circular like cylinder that you stick inside of a couple of plates. And then on top of that cylinder, like your wrist, there's this other cylinder that holds the barbell, and it can move in any direction. It goes forward, back, circular, anything you could think of. And because you have so much range of motion, you could do so many different exercises with that. You could do presses, rows, squats, deadlifts, lunges, anything you can think of, you can do with a landmine. So, and even if you can't afford power blocks or something like that, you could do a lot with a landmine instead. So if you could find like a cheapy barbell and a landmine attachment and something to stick the landmine into, you could save money and not use the power blocks at all. And you can still do a lot of different things with that. And then last but not least would be a squat stand or a power rack. The reason I say squat stand is because it saves a lot of space. Again, a lot of the equipment decisions I make are based on the fact that I operate out of a garage setup where my dad's pride and joy, his 50th anniversary Corvette, needs to take up the space because we're in an area where it does snow and obviously it rains. So he doesn't want his baby getting messed with by the elements. So we got to pull it back into the garage. And obviously I'm not scratching that thing because I don't want to hear it. So everything that I pick is very space sensitive. So the squat stand, the one I got, and I'll be sure to put links in the show notes for you guys to make sure that you can just click and find out exactly what I'm talking about. But I got the squat stand from Rogue. I think it's the SM1 or 2. And all it is an independent squat stand. So it's 2 things. One side holds one side of the barbell, other side holds the other. And it's got adjustable hooks. So, and it's got this unique feature that, for those of you that don't know, West Side, they trademarked West Side, what's the word? Basically the little holes in the squat stand. Most times they're the same exact size, same spacing between them all. With this one, the West Side style, you get like it looks like a machine gun put them in. It goes brrr, like there's very little space between them. Same size hole, but very little space between them compared to the normal, like I would say like 4 or 5 inches that you get. It would be like 1 or 2 inches. So it's very, very specific, especially when you get into like the bench pressing stuff like that. Very, very specific if that's something you're looking into. And then when you're all done, you take the barbell off, you take one half of the stand, put it somewhere, take the other half of the stand, put it somewhere else. For me, I just stack them on top of each other, and it takes up like about what, like, I don't know what would be comparable, like a tall, skinny closet, I guess you could say. Maybe it would be like the equivalent of somebody who's like 6 feet tall just standing there, and that's how much space it takes up. Yeah, so very good investment. One of the best decisions I've made so far when it comes to equipment. And yeah, that's pretty much all you need. People want to get fancy with it. They want to get their specialty bars and everything. And I would say if you're going to get like a specialty bar, get like a safety squat bar, or a they call it a football bar or a Swiss bar, and it's just like a barbell to press and pull with that's got neutral grips, so it's a little nicer on the shoulders. And the safety bar is the one where it's got like 2 bars running down the side of your neck that like have padding on it that you could hold with your hands in front instead of your hands back by your shoulders. Again, saves the shoulders a lot of strain, especially if your mobility isn't there. So that could be worth putting some money into. And last but not least, we got, I don't know how to frame this. I put it as like a nutrition topic because that's like the format I'm going to try out going forward. We're going to do mindset, workouts, nutrition. So for nutrition, I thought I could kind of talk about like ads. And I know you're probably wondering, like, what the hell do ads have to do with nutrition? Let me tell you. When I was looking at the podcast analytics and stuff, because I found out that during that Spotify Wrapped thing that they do, where you put your end of the year report up, like with your music and stuff, they do that with your podcast too. And I found out that like over the past year, over 1,000 plays, listened to in 9 different countries. Shout out to all of you who are listening outside of the US. I love every single one of you. And it's so cool seeing the new countries that pop up every time. But yeah, so I was looking at that, and then right next to it, there was this money thing where it's like, oh, you can make money by putting sponsored ads in your podcasts. And I'm like, all right, I'll look into it. I mean, I'm not one that says no to money. So I go over and it's like, all right, so you'll make $15 per 1,000 plays. And I'm like, well, that puts it into perspective. I would have made $15 on podcasting this year. Woo freaking who. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Anchor, and I tell everybody I know that wants to podcast about Anchor, but I'm not about to bore you guys with ads and sponsorships and stuff like that unless it's worth it, because I want to make this as like clean and as uninterrupted as possible for as long as I can, until there's enough money in my face where I'm like, all right, I'm not above that. But $15, come on. So I basically said, am I willing to invest $15 that I am not going to get to improve the experience, the listening experience? And I'm like, that's pretty damn simple. Hell yes. I'm not going to make this into something that it doesn't need to be for $15. And then that kind of reminded me of a conversation I was having in my head that I've told other people about. And it's that conversation of how much money you're willing to invest into your health. And I'm not talking about like investing in equipment or investing in a coach or anything like that. I'm talking about when you see like an open bag of chips that you know they're going to go stale if you don't eat them. Are you willing to look at that bag and be like, well, I spent $4 on that. I ate half of it. Would I be willing to sacrifice really $2 to improve my health and keep me at a body composition that has me feeling better and looking better and feeling better about myself, yeah, that's a pretty simple trade-off. But more times than not, we're mindless about it and we're like, oh, I don't want that to go to waste. And you don't really calculate it in your head that much. You're just like, I don't want to waste it. And then that starving kids in Africa thing pops into your head and you're like, oh, that justifies it. I can eat it. And you do it over and over and over again and you add on the pounds. It's like, take a moment when you see that, like your kids left out, like they only ate half their dinner, or you went to like a movie and there's half a bag of popcorn left, and in your mind it's like, oh, I don't want to waste that. Take a second, think about how much that's actually worth. So you went to the movie theater, you bought that popcorn, and let's say your movie theater is one of those that really jacks up the price, like justifiable. It's like $15-20 for that thing of popcorn. Now, I haven't been to movies in a while because of COVID and all that, so I might be a little off on that, but I think I'm not. Anyway, let's say you got the large bag, $15 worth, and there's half of it left. Do you take it home or do you throw it in the trash? Are you willing to spend $7.50 that day towards your health and fitness? That's a decision you have to make. Now, some of you might be like, oh yeah, I would totally do that. But do you? Do you? That's the question. So same goes for when your kids have the goldfish left out. Oh, there's 10 little pieces. Maybe there's 30 in the box. Those little, like the cute little milk carton ones that we all see at Target. Like when you see the 10 pieces, do you scoop them up and throw them out? Or do you want to, because you don't want to waste the, what would it be, 70 something cents because they're like $1 something? Would you be willing to pay 70 cents towards your health and fitness? Hell freaking yeah. I'll take that deal every day. That's one of the cheapest investments you can make. I mean, putting it in perspective, like if you want to go to a gym, like Crunch Fitness is like $30 a month, but you can improve your health and fitness and just by doing something that would cost you 70 cents. Like, come on now. I mean, it makes total sense when you hear it, but we don't intentionally make these decisions. We don't take a second to think. And that's where the real difference is, the intention behind the things that we do. So with that being said, when it comes to anything health and fitness that you want to improve upon, be intentional about it. If you want to improve your eating habits, be intentional with how you eat. Okay, get away from the screens, stop watching TV, stop like being on the computer while you're doing it. Take 10-15 minutes, sit down, eat your food. You'll be amazed at how much more full you feel. Okay, let's talk about water. If you go through the day just praying and hoping that you're going to get enough, you're never going to get enough. But if you say, I'm going to start my day with a bottle of water, like one of those typical ones, or like a blender bottle that's like 25 ounces of water, and your goal is 100 ounces, boom, you're a quarter of the way there. You've accomplished something to start your day, and you're probably going to hit that goal. So intention will win every single time. So I think I beat that horse to death. So I'll just call it there. Just thank you guys for being patient with me not being able to get this whole thing up and running for the past week and a half. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you everybody for tuning in this year, because it's been a hell of a year. We're not done quite yet, but I just want to make sure I thank you before I forget. You guys are incredible. I want to keep growing this podcast. And yeah, thank you. I hope you guys listen in next week. All right. Have an amazing week. Go kick some ass, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a 5-star review. If you found the information helpful, go ahead and share it with somebody you think could use it too. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.